Good evening, everyone. I'm Tuhina Bose, Marketing Manager at UL. Today, we have a special speaker in the house. We are joined by Nicole Sim, Sales and Partnership Manager, Scape Living. Nicole has been associated with Scape Student Living for the last 6.5 years. She is based out of Singapore and supports regional education partners and related industries in helping students and academics find secure and institution-approved accommodation. How are you doing today, Nicole?
Hi, Tuhina, and hi, everybody watching ULTV. I'm really excited to be here and sharing so much information about student accommodation with you.
Great. Let's discuss a few things about Scape. Scape is more than just an accommodation. It's everything you'll need to feel part of a student community in a new city with new friends. They not only offer a world-class living and learning environment, but also from their wellness and mental health programs to exclusive Scape dedicated event program. So it's in everything that an international student will need when they decide to study abroad and move into an accommodation. They have 33 properties conveniently located near education hubs in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and Adelaide. So without any further delay, let's dive into a conversation with Nicole. Nicole, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Great. So what are the key factors that make Australia an attractive destination for international students?
That's a really great question, Tahina. So Australia is a leading education destination hub, and there are plenty of universities and institutions that are now placed in the recent QS 2024 World University ranking. So there are a lot of university that have, moved up in rankings, and plenty of them are in Australia. So you've got great education schools and systems there. Also, being a multicultural destination, Australia is a safe and inclusive community and has plenty of opportunities for cultural exchange and collaboration. In fact, just looking at some numbers, there were 41,684 Indian students that have commenced year to date for this year. And just in 2021, obviously during the pandemic and COVID, there were only 21,000. So this was almost halved. This shows how much Australia is a great location, really close to India. Many Indian nationals are also in Australia. In fact, Indian nationals are the third most common nationality in Australia. So that means you have all of your great food, great culture, and you get a chance to also make new friends and learn new cultures in Australia without feeling like you're too far away from home.
That's really wonderful to hear. I mean, that nevertheless, I mean, Australia is always the most loved, you say, student study abroad and student accommodation destination. Good, great. So, what are the unique challenges faced by international students when it comes to finding student suitable accommodation in Australia, and how does Scape addresses those challenges?
Yes, so we believe, and I've seen, students are really misled with too much information on the internet. We also have students who try and find their own accommodation via sources, which may not be legitimate. This is horrible because actually, the accommodation market in Australia has changed so much over COVID. Looking for accommodation is not as easy or seamless as in the past pre-COVID. So what we've seen, and we definitely do recommend and encourage students to book through University Living, because finding student accommodation via purpose-built providers like Scape, which are also university and institution approved, is your best chance of securing a safe home, and also not to jeopardize having the best experience in Australia. You have chosen Australia as your study destination, but you're also living and discovering a new self as a young adult. So we do not want to have any, hiccups or bad experiences there.
Rightly said. I mean, these days, students, like, they treat internet as God. So it's not only for the student accommodation. I mean, even if they have slight of cold and cough, they'll just Google it, like, what's the reason? And then they'll just start panicking or start using their own medication. So I totally agree with that. Cool. So, as an international student, how do you think that Scape create a supportive and inclusive living environment, fostering a sense of community and enhancing their overall experience? I would really like you to throw some light on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen student accommodation evolve over the years, and students now, who are going to study in Australia will always like to say you are so, so lucky. So living with Scape is not just a roof over your head. We actually are redefining the student living experience through monthly curated events programs. We have regional events and engagement managers where what they do is to make sure that your experience living at Scape is optimal. This also allows you to have the chance to mingle with your peers in the same building. So we do accept students from various institutions. So you might be going to, University X, and you'd be able to meet students of the same age, can be similar nationality or other nationalities as well. From University Y, so it actually really broadens the social circle. And you can also be part of activities which showcase Australian culture and student lifestyles. So just for an example, earlier this year, we hosted a relay race / treasure hunt type across our Sydney properties as one of our highlight events. So students from various Sydney buildings are able to meet new peers. Again, they're all students, so it's a really safe community. And you can actually find this event video on our YouTube channel. We have proof there. But it is so important to encourage social connections whilst also sharing, educating your lives and enriching your lives whilst living with Scape. Also recently, Scape has launched a new career / internship vertical. This is called Scape's Got Talent. So what we've done through this initiative is, we're here to shape and shelter your lives. You're here as a young adult, you've chosen Australia, you've chosen Scape, and we want to give you access to internship opportunities, tutoring, personnel, and materials just to really amp up what you're studying in university and institution. So just last summer, we have actually selected some residents from, all over the country because we are based in multiple cities. We actually flew them to our head office to work with our various departments like HR, marketing, and so on, just for some real life professional experience and mentorship with our Scape employees.
Well, that's great to hear. I mean, so students. I mean, this is a great opportunity. Not only where you're staying in a world-class living experience with Scape, but you are also getting an internship opportunity. I mean, very few PBSA providers do that. So that's really a good initiative, Nicole. I mean. So, okay, what measures do you have in place, to ensure the safety and security of international students within your accommodation? So, say, for instance, a protocol for emergency or after our support, maybe, or during the COVID times. I mean, if any of these securities were or protocols of emergencies were at place or not. I would like you to please answer the question. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the COVID pandemic really shook everyone, in terms of lifestyles, in terms of living, in terms of everything, really. All of our behaviors changed, to be honest. So what we've seen, and we are so proud of this, we pride ourselves with specialist team members based in our buildings. So during COVID, we actually amped up our cleaning, all of our housekeeping team members are Scape employed. So we make sure that, we are able to keep our surfaces, our buildings extra clean, to make sure, it's always ready for anyone to use in our communal spaces and so on. All of our team members as well, from a safety perspective, will have to go through reference checks, yearly trainings on working with students. In Australia, there's also something called working with children checks. So you'd go and apply for this, and you actually have to have a card. Once you're certified, then you can work in our properties. With all this amped up cleaning, lots of trainings, and really strict reference checks, our team is then available on site in your building 24 hours, 7 days a week, to ensure that we always have a team member on site for any emergencies and after hours support. This means there is always somebody, a physical person at front desk. So no matter what time you come home, or during COVID where you couldn't really leave the home due to several lockdowns, there's always someone at front desk, no matter what time of the day, to help you with any emergencies or after hours support. We also have lots of physical operational items in the building. So for example, CCTVs on every levels in the communal spaces, room access cards for residents, so you don't have I guess, random people trying to enter the building. You have to have your card to enter. We also have fire alarms everywhere just to make sure that your safety is optimal at all times. We do know sometimes students, it is your first time living and cooking out of home, and it might not be a really familiar house chore for you. So we do realize fire alarms do get activated quite often, but this is how we are able to make sure you're safe. We can go up to your room, check in on you, and make sure that you're all good. Another very important initiative that Scape has launched was during COVID times, and up to the present day, we were the first responder to the COVID pandemic. And we are also very proud to share that we have partnered with Sonda, who is a 24/7 rapid response network with specialist team members who were ex-military, doctors, medical professionals, who can, through this app, attend to emergency and medical needs of our residents. So this is no matter where you're at. You can be in your building, you can be traveling to another city for a short holiday, a short trip. You can always access this app as long as you're traveling and have your internet turned on. There are many functions of this app, and I'll name just a few, which I think most students have used from experience. So mainly it includes access to team members who can speak your native tongue and guide you in times of emergency, tracking your location for any emergency personnel to reach you, providing professional curated resources, and also send you any alerts on potential nearby disasters. This sounds really scary, but then it's just things like, a fire might have broken out 10 kilometers away. Please stay clear from that area. Just an example of that. And we continue to work with Sonda up to today. This is something that is, safety and security and support is a non-negotiable for Scape. And we want to make sure that all of our residents living with us, one, have access to the Scape team 24/7. And number two, have access through their phone, through the devices, again, 24/7. If they may not be in the Scape building, they still have access to some kind of help and support.
I mean, wow. I mean, that's a pretty, very well crafted, protocols for emergencies and after our support. And Nicole, I really like the line where you said, when you come back home, there will be someone always there on the front desk. I mean, automatically a home, a sense of homeliness is there. I mean, so that's what I think, not only with Scape, but maybe other PBSs should also learn, where you make international students or any student feel as if it's a second home for them, so that they don't miss. I mean, that's a really good quality, I must say. So diving into the next question, how to book an accommodation, if there is any specific requirements or considerations that one should be aware of, and especially talking about university living, I mean, from a managed marketplace, how do you think a Scape booking should happen? If you can just throw some limelight on that.
Absolutely. So we're so pleased and proud to work with University Living, who is a trusted partner of Scape. So what the University Living team would do is to help the student locate the best locations for accommodation. Once the student initiates contact via the website, they will be contacted within minutes, and the team will be able to process your application as simple as ABC once they've found out availability for your preferred room type. So it is all done very seamlessly. The UL team is here to support you with everything. I guess a couple of things to look out for if you're just doing your homework, researching, scrolling on the UL website. Just look out for, I guess, proximity to your institution where you're going to study, how far you're located away from the university or college. You don't want to be spending too much time and money traveling to the uni. Just for an example, an average cost for one-way transport ride, it's about $4 Australian. I think it's gone up since the last time I was in Australia. And this is pretty much the same in no matter which city. $4 Australian dollars is a lot of money, I would say, if you accumulate that amount. So try and find something close by or of a walking distance, right? Next thing would be any inclusions that you'll be getting as part of your rent. Hopefully also no hidden costs. So with Scape, the amount that you are paying, all of your bills are included in your rent, and things like access to communal spaces. For some of our properties, we have food catering options and shuttle bus service, for example. It's good that you have more inclusions in your rent, and definitely do look out for these before you sign any tenancy agreement, which leads me to my next point. You have to ask for, or you need to receive, a legal residential tenancy agreement, which states all of the details of your tenancy. So things like date, rent amount, location, address, and all of this kind of thing, just to make sure that you've got all of your box ticked. Plus, this is a legal document. So if in any case of a dispute, and hopefully we don't have to get there for any students living in any PBSA, you've got something to fall back onto just to protect you as a tenant as well. Of course, any communal spaces should be included and hopefully will be included as part of your living experience. But as mentioned for Scape, we have things like cinema room, gym, study zones, communal kitchens, and so on, just to really add on to your amazing student experience. I like to say here that more is more.
Wow, I mean, how beautifully you have explained the booking process, and obviously the nuances what a student needs to see while they are deciding, to stay in Scape. That's really nice. So, now when we have already covered, the book and accommodation part. So, what do you think? I mean, how early should one book an accommodation, in order to secure those rooms? Because, there's an international housing shortage. So, if you can just throw some limelight on that.
Sure, no worries. We are seeing across the globe many countries, which are also education hubs like the US, the UK, and Europe, that there is housing shortage. So what happened during COVID was students were stuck in their home countries, and once the borders opened, there was this massive influx of students, who have been studying from home, year twos, year threes, year fours, who were stuck at home that need to complete their degrees or courses on campus. So lots and lots of students flew immediately once borders opened. So in the past, pre-COVID, we have seen trends where students would secure the accommodation on the same month of the course commencement. So for example, for Australia, if you're starting your intake in July, maybe end of July, most students will book a few weeks before that. This was what we've saw in the past. However, this is now too late due to the lack of available housing, not just in Australia. This is again the same for every single country. So what you should do, my piece of advice would be students should start inquiring about booking accommodation at the same time when they're applying for the enrollments to institutions. Start inquiring, reach out to the UL team for all of your options, ask as many questions as you need, find out the locations, do a Google Map satellite tour, just look around, where is my institution of interest and where is the accommodation that I'd like to be in. Just compare, ask about everything to do with living in that particular city, just to have all your ducks in a row, and don't be, booking too last minute. Start inquiring early and just find as much info as you can. For some of our really young students, we are seeing more under 18 international students come through to Australia to study, which is fantastic. Lots of smart students nowadays, I like to say. The supply for under 18 rooms are even lower because institutions have to pick certain PBSA or other homestay or accommodation options. They have to prove of the provider. And if it's not approved, you cannot book these accommodation. And as an under 18 international student, you have to book your accommodation. If not, you will not get your confirmation of welfare letter, and you would not be able to even enter the country. So it's not to scare anybody, but this is the process for you to book your room as an under 18. And, as an over 18 student, I think, you should still be able to find out as much as you need, because it is a lot of money you're investing in your I guess, enrollment into university and also your living expenses. So why not ask early, get everything that you need.
Oh, that's a really good advice. I mean, so you were saying that if a student is under 18, they really need to, book an accommodation from the PBS, which is, affiliated from the university. So does Scape have that sort of, rooms available for under 18, just for the
Yes.
knowledge?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So we do have them. And my piece of advice to you is you would be able to see all of the approved accommodation providers on that specific institution's website. So everything is public. It's very clear as to where you can stay or where you cannot stay. So if you need a second opinion other than from Team UL, you can look at the institution's website.
Great. Also, Nicole, I would like to ask, even if it's for under 18, that legal document is important, mandatory, whether you are under 18 or over 18, right? Just to clarify the documents that you get it signed from the students.
Yes, so for an under 18 student, you need to book your accommodation before the Department of Home Affairs would send through your welfare letter. Without the welfare letter, you cannot enter the country. For an over 18 student, you don't have to book an accommodation prior, but for you to arrive without accommodation, it is extremely scary. I do not recommend that. But what we will need from you would be your student offer letter, your confirmation of enrollment, otherwise known as COE, just to prove that you're a student, then you'll be able to live with us because we only keep students or have students within our student accommodation buildings.
Wow, I mean, the reason behind why we are doing this ULTV is just to, give as much as information for the international students so that, they can understand how important is, booking an accommodation, I mean, well beforehand and to get all the papers in line. Cool. So, Nicole, any 2 cents advice, for an aspiring international student from your side?
Oh yes, I was an international student as well. I was so nervous, being an international student. It was my first time out of home, first time out of family, and it was exciting yet I was really anxious. But my motto was and is just to try your very best, be the best version of yourself every day. You might have great days, you might not have great days, which is very normal, but you always will have another day to try again. So, a pat on your back, let's move on, let's do this together. Everybody in Scape and other student accommodation, everyone's feeling the same. I'm sure, we can all learn from each other, learn from your peers, and make sure that you've got a great support system within your accommodation.
I mean, thank you so much, Nicole, for an insightful session. I mean, really, we have covered almost all the questions, from the point of, international students want to know about staying accommodation. And thank you for pouring and telling us, every little nuances about, underage and overage 18 students. Yeah. So on this note, we'll be closing our session. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found it useful. Looking forward to seeing you guys next week in Study Abroad 101. Stay tuned to our social media handles for more information. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.